We fixing to make this town real smoking.
The statistics is something that we've been talking about like since Tekken 7. And at first, the developers didn't want to give us any of that statistics because you know how the developers are. They like to keep a lot of things hidden. But what also happened during Tekken 7 is that players just started figuring out ways of collecting the data themselves. That combined with Capcom and other fighting games releasing the statistics put pressure on Tekken to release official statistics. And now what we can do is look at the unofficial statistics and the official statistics and compare them and see whether or not it's accurate. And we've done that plenty of times before, which is why we know these statistics are accurate. So when we look here at the statistics today, it's an important one, because this is the final statistics for season 1. All of the DLC characters are taken into consideration. All of the, battles, everything. This is literally the end of season 1. And season 2 is going to radically overhaul everything. So let's dive into this. So it says Tekken 8 ranked leaderboard statistics, prominence. And this is what people are trying to highlight. When people say that the inflation of the ranks is real, this is what players mean. In the beginning of the game, red ranks was here, 40%. Now the same people who are in red rank are in blue rank. People always say that blue rank is basically the new red rank. I mean, it's kind of true to a certain extent, but does that matter? All of those players are fighting just as hard as all of us. The only difference is that they have a little bit less skill. But shouldn't they have something to show for their battles? When you look at the top ranks, though, the top ranks is pretty crazy. I was here, right, in the purple section. This also brings up the conversation of how the ranks was harder to achieve when the game first came out. I don't know why, but that's what players feel. And I mean, looking at this graph is kind of makes it true, because like not that many people were able to reach God, and now you have like a huge block of people able to do it. So this graph here shows the most popular characters in the game and how they progressed from release to now. When the game first came out, Dragunov was the most popular, but he finally has been dethroned by Jin Kazama. Jin Kazama is now the most popular, but at the start of the game, he was 6. Brian Fury, on the other hand, was 11th, and he risen up and he has maintained 3. Since Heihachi's release, he has not fallen at all. He is maintaining his top 4 placement. Clive is very interesting. He is number 7. Steve Fox jumped up from 18 to 9. See, this is the thing about Steve Fox that I try to highlight. In Tekken 7, Steve Fox performed terrible online. His usage was also terrible because he sucked online. But in tournaments, he was very powerful. He was so powerful to where people would, if you picked Fakaram, they would counterpick your Fakaram with a Fakaram or a Steve Fox. That's how powerful he was in the game, but many players could not achieve that power. But then when you talk about in Tekken 8, the opposites are true, where Steve Fox is not picked at all. He's not a counter pick, he's not a pick, he's not nothing in tournaments. But then online, not only is he more popular, but also when you look at the win rates, he is way more effective. The Steve Fox players are winning more now in Tekken 8 than they did in Tekken 7. But also, with that being the case, the Steve Fox players feel like they're losing more. They kind of don't complain about buffs that much anymore, but they were a lot. It's a weird thing where your character can be performing better, but you still feel like the character isn't performing as good as they were. But when you look at what they were worse. Basically, what he is a online character now. He is not a character who is tournament viable. He is online viable. On ranked inflation throughout season 1, a lot has happened. The medium on the leaderboards has gone from Mighty Ruler to Fujin. I believe that Bandai Namco chose Fujin as the most popular rank, and it's now living up to that expectation since the first DLC. What I wonder is, with season 2, them overhauling the ranked structure, they're changing the way that points is distributed. They're rewarding winning a lot more than losing. They're taking away that bonus that you get when you get demoted and then you get promoted and you get like 2,000 points. That's gone. With all of these changes, what will then be the most popular rank in the whole game? And also, they will reset all of the ranks, right? So everyone in Fujin will go back to like red ranks. It says on the high end, God of Destruction had more than doubled across the season. Currently covers the same percentile as the top 3 ranks covered at the start of season. So basically saying that at the start of the game, everyone who was in God of Destruction, God Supreme, and Tech God, now all of those players are 100% God. And if you're not, you are a anomaly. And at that time, I wasn't in those ranks. I was Tekken King, and now since those players moved up, I've taken their place. On DLC characters, Clive Rossville. He is very popular. He is literally the most popular guest character ever. He's significantly more popular than the second most popular guest, which was Negan. This is why I say that people who say Negan is unsuccessful, it's just not true. Tekken 7 statistics, when you look for Negan, he is 13th most popular character in Tekken 7. So when people try to say that Negan was a failure, he was a bad pick, he was this, he was that, it's just provable that that's not true. Clive only seen one yesterday, not popular. We also got to take regions into consideration. So this is the website Waivu Wing, and this is a website where you can see a bunch of different players. Like you can see the 2 players that I recently looked up were cheaters. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to click on the America region, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. Out of the top 500 players, you can see which character is being played the most. And as you can see, Brian Fury, there's 20 players out of the top 500 that's playing Brian Fury. Fang is 19, Lily 19, Harang 18. So you can see, right? I'm not going to say everything, but you can see. Now, keep in mind that this is the America region. Now, if we go to Asia region, you can see that the top character in this region is Dragunov, then Kuma, then Heihachi, Lars. So it's a difference there in which characters are popular in which region. Europe now, the EU. The top character in EU is Harang, then Brian Fury, then Kazuya, then Steve, then Lily, then Lars, Shahid, Lee. Now if we look at the Middle East, you can see the most played character is Feng Wei, Dragunov, Heihachi, Brian, Jin, Clive. For the Middle East, I also want to note, look at Shahid. Shahid is right here. So this is the Oceania region. And you can see the most popular character there is Brian, Jin, Heihachi, Kazuya, Dragunov, Lee. Now, if we look at the least popular for Oceania, it's Eddie, Victor, June, Panda, Alyssa. For the Middle East, it's Zhao Yu, Lydia, Azazina, Law, Panda. For Europe, it's Panda, Lydia, Azazina, Leroy, Kuma. For Asia, it's Zhao Yu, Panda, Lily, Raven, June. For America, it's Victor, Panda, Raven, Azazina, Lars. So you do have some, common names like Panda showing up, Victor, Azuzina, but then you have like for the truly low and for the truly high, it's different. But let's keep going. Let's keep looking at this. Despite what people said about wanting Tifa, it turns out a ton of people picked up Clive. This is pretty interesting as well. There was this big fuss online about not getting Tifa and instead getting Clive, and Clive being a terrible pick. You can also talk about how people say Clive don't belong in the game. You could talk about how people don't like weapon users, magic users. Clive's all of those things, but he is still the most played guest character ever. It speaks to the silent majority. You have a vocal online presence who all are hive mind. This is something that I try to highlight as well. Like the online community for Tekken is hive mind. That's how I get myself into a lot of trouble, because like I have ideas that oppose the hive mind. And Heihachi is now, without a doubt, the Armor King of Tekken 8. Lydia and Eddie are still losing popularity, which was to be expected. Lydia wasn't what people expected in terms of story importance, and Eddie was memed to orange ranks and back. This time around, the biggest climb is Kuma. Maybe the tournament showcase are paying off, which are pretty rare. As I predicted, Reina has started to fall off with the introduction of Heihachi, now being out of the top 10 entirely. That's a mighty fall for someone who was once the second most popular character in the game. Azazine and Victor are also both falling. I expect this to be residuals from their earlier nerfs. Kuma rising up the chart the way that he did was unreal. That Power Crush heat engager that they love spamming is gone, and that will definitely hinder their enjoyment a lot. If the Heat Smash and Electrics get nerfed, the character will die. If not, he will survive.